certainly been a week, hasn't it? I know that we are all feeling what's happening out there on an individual level. So really we want to, when we come to our practice, be respectful of what we are dealing with, not just in our physical bodies, but emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, all of the above. So I want to start lying down on our backs today, and I want to take just a few moments to kind of just rest and digest and make a connection to the breath. So go ahead and lie down, get comfortable. And you guys know you can really do whatever feels good here. I really like having my feet out wide and knocking the knees in together. That just feels like it gives my lower back a little bit more spaciousness. And if you choose that variation, just lift your hips up a little bit, and you can put your hands to the outsides of your hips and just kind of spread a little bit through the lower back, and then release your hips back down. And then rest your hands wherever is comfortable, maybe on your body, which might be a good way to ground. Allow your eyes to close. And I want you guys to ask yourself the question and be really interested in the answer to this question. How are you? How are you? There's a lot that's been going on. Our attention has been drawn to our TVs a lot, to our social media accounts, to what's going on out there. It seems like there's something about to happen, and it's been hard to tear ourselves away a lot of times. But what I'd like to do for today is bring your focus to that single pointed awareness of your breath. And let's start right now. And then if your hands are on your body, place your hands down on the mat beside you. If your knees are bent, separate your knees and heel toe your feet so that your heels are in line with your sitting bones. If your legs were extended, bend your knees so that your heels are in line with your sitting bones. And let's start to synchronize breath and movement together. So as you inhale, just lift your hips up off of the floor and stretch your arms way back behind you. And as you exhale, let your spine roll down vertebrae by vertebrae by vertebrae as your arms return to the floor. Inhale, breath. That single pointed awareness is watching the breath, watching the movement, and observing the sensation. The exhale takes you back down, and it's a release. Continue. Let's do about 5 more rounds on your own, just thinking about as you engage the back of your body, you're stretching the front of your body. What are the sensations that go along with that? And in our yoga practice, one of our key instructions is to stay curious, to not judge, to not think that things should be a certain way, but to explore the way things are in this moment, this present moment. So wherever you are, let's do one more. Beautiful. And then cross your right ankle over your left knee. Hug your left knee into your chest. Strong flexion of your right foot. So just get that hip to open up. You can take your right hand and gently press your right knee out to the right to exaggerate the stretch a little bit more. Remember, it's not really about getting an intense stretch here. It's just about making that connection to to the various parts of the body. So you're holding on behind your left hamstring. Go ahead and straighten your left leg up towards the ceiling for a figure four. You get a little bit of a stretch through your left hamstring, but you have a little bit more pressure on your right ankle. Strong flexion of that right foot. Strong flexion of the left foot as well. So bring your toes towards your shin. And then just check in with your pelvis and observe if your pelvis is tilting towards the right, or if the right side of your pelvis is scrunching up into the right side of your waist. So you're trying to create a sense of evenness. Good, and then start to bend your left knee. Place the sole of your left foot back down on the floor. Keep your ankle crossed over your knee. Extend your arms out to the sides, palms facing down. And then slowly start to twist your right sole of your foot's going to try to land towards the left side of your mat as you gaze towards the right. Let the pose unfold. Monday we were talking about practicing that witness consciousness. So we're witnessing everything. Good, and then slowly come back to center. Place your right foot back down on the floor. Cross your left ankle over your right knee. Hug your right knee in towards your chest. If you want to place your left hand to the inside of the left knee and give it a little pressure, go ahead and do that, and take a moment here to establish that evenness of the pelvis. And then when you're ready, straighten your right leg and make sure that both feet are actively flexing. And then check in one more time with the alignment of your pelvis. When you feel that things are in a place where you can be still, practice being still. Good, so re-bend your right knee, place the right foot back down on the mat, stretch your arms out to the sides, palms facing down, and slowly start to twist over towards the right. Perhaps the sole of your left foot might land on the floor. It might not, that's okay. And then bring it back to center. Good, place the left foot back down on the mat, and then curl your knees in towards your chest and wrap your arms around your shins. Get in that really gentle stretch to the lower back. You might rock back and forth a little bit, that feels nice. Good, and then we start to rock up and roll, rock up and down the length of the spine. Several times, give yourself a little massage, and eventually you come to all fours. Okay. So as you come to all fours, let's just take a moment and turn the fingers to face the knees, stretching into the wrists a little bit. You can micro bend your elbows and try to pull your hips backwards just a little bit to exaggerate the stretch. So moments change all the time. Change is the only thing that is constant. We want to learn to keep our consciousness focused. So turn your fingers back around to face the front. Spread the fingers out nice and wide, and start to move through your cat and cow. So this is a little ritual. Remember, the difference between a ritual and a routine is that a ritual has presence, has intention. So as you move through cat and cow, what is your intention here? To lubricate the spine, to find a little bit of spaciousness, to find movement, to identify where any of the sticky places might be. I like that, Sally. Banging out the feet brings a little bit of energy to the tops of the feet. That's a great idea. If you'd like to copy Sally and bang out your feet a little bit, it feels nice. Good, let's just do 3 more. So if the purpose of cat and cow is to establish kind of the spectrum that we can move on how far, find the middle point where your spine is neutral. When your spine is neutral, the lowest part of your belly draws in, the top of the sternum reaches away from the bottom of the sternum, and imagine you could seal the front of the pelvis and your ribcage in towards one another just a little bit. So we're not rounding, but we're gently engaging the front of the body. Now tuck your toes under and hover your kneecaps 1/2 of an inch above the mat. Imagine you could slide your hands backwards and your toes forward so you really feel the energy, the engagement, the strength in the abdominals. Elongate the top of the sternum away from the bottom of the sternum. Let's hold for 3, 2, 1. Good. Drop your knees down. Reach your hips back, child's pose. And if you want to rest your forehead on a block, just allow yourself to have these moments in your practice where you're pausing to be still, to allow yourself to digest everything that's been going on lately. Good, so let's come forward to all fours again. This time I want you to move your hands a little bit closer together. So maybe your thumbs are 3 to 4 inches apart from one another. And then stick your feet out a little bit wider. So your feet are wider, a little bit wider than hip distance. Okay? Tuck your toes under, but before you lift up into that beast pose, I want you to engage your belly muscles and then lift your kneecaps 1/2 inch above the floor. Think of sliding your hands backwards as the top of your sternum tries to reach forward. And then you're going to, without rocking your hips, reach your left arm back and touch your left thigh. Place your left hand back down on the floor. That's it. Good. The hips will not rock at all, so your job is to stabilize. Right hand reaches back and touches the right thigh, and then place your right hand back down. Good. So let's just do this 3 times on each side. Keep your gaze steady. Keep your movements smooth. Notice how you do things. You should be feeling your abdominals working here. Nice and stable. Good job, everybody. Last one. Good. And then put your right hand back down, drop your knees, reach your hips back into that child's pose again. Allow yourself to breathe. Allow yourself to fill your body with breath. Good, and then shift back up one more time, hands and knees. This time the knees are hip distance, the hands are right underneath the shoulders. You can step your hands about 2 or 3 inches forward. Tuck your toes under, engage your belly muscles, hover your knees 1/2 inch above your yoga mat. Think of sliding the hands back, think of sliding the sternum forward, and keeping your knees very bent. Just start to change the orientation of your body. So your chest magnetizes towards your thighs, you're coming towards downward facing dog, but keeping your knees very, very bent. As your hips move back, lift your sitting bones higher, 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 higher. Good, and then press your thigh bones towards the back as your inner thighs spin towards the wall behind you. You reach through every single fingertip, rooting down the inner part of your thumb and first finger and the root of every single finger. And then hug your triceps in, spin your biceps up towards the ceiling. And as your heels magnetize down towards the floor, bend your left knee a lot, press your right heel down. Feel that stretch through your right calf. Both arms are straight, strong, extended. And then switch sides. Lift up high onto the ball of your right foot and drop your left heel down. Breathe. Good. And then find your way to downward facing dog. Bend your knees again. And then see if you can get more height with your hips. Draw the lowest part of your belly in. And then use that energy in the pelvic floor to press the legs backwards. That's it. Good. Beautiful job, you guys. So we're really engaged in our downward facing dog. Step your feet so that they are side by side to one another. And then imagine you had a cable on the inside of your right thigh. Float your right leg up towards the ceiling. Your toes are turned down towards the floor. And then turn your toes open and let your hip drape open. Get some nice stretch here. Opening it up. If you want to circle something, circle something. Good, and then revolve yourself back down so that look back at your toes. They're pointing to the floor. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, bring your knee through, step your foot between your hands. Step your foot to the outside of your right hand. Drop your back knee down. Turn your right toes out 45 degrees. So we're angling our right foot, and then walk your fingertips towards the left front corner of your mat. So your toes are turned away from where your fingertips are walking. That's it. Breathe. Good. Now walk your hands back in and heel toe your right foot towards the center of your mat. You're going to take your left foot and spin it out towards the right. Yeah? And then cartwheel your arms open. So it's like warrior two when you're kneeling. Stack your rib cage directly over your pelvis. Good. You can feel how your pelvis is open. So turn your knee towards the right just a little bit more. There you go. Good job. And then take your right hand down to the inside of your right foot. Take your left arm straight up to the sky. And then reach your left arm forward. Turn your pinky finger down towards the floor. We're stretching the left side of the body. If this is not comfortable for you, you can always put your forearm on your thigh. If it's too far away, you can also use a block. Good. Let's inhale, back up. And then straighten your right leg. Take your arms up to the sky. You can slide your right heel forward a little bit. Gate pose, right hand to the right thigh, left arm stretches over your ear. Notice your breath. Did it get more shallow? Did your mind start to wander? Stay very curious about what you're experiencing. Good. Take both arms up to the sky. You're squaring off your body to the long edge of your mat. Big inhale. And as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart and sit your left sitting bone down to your heel. You'll notice how that stretch increases in your right inner thigh. And as you inhale, lift all the way back up, arms to the sky. Again, sit down, bring your hands to your heart, exhaling. Inhaling all the way up. Get long through the sides of the body. One more time. Drop it down like you're squatting. Good, you guys, nice. Awesome. And all the way up. Good, now bring your hands down. Walk your hands towards your front right leg. And find your way to a half kneeling posture. So you're squared off. Right heel's trying to pull back, left knee's trying to pull forward. Walk your hands up onto your right thigh and straighten your arms so your spine gets as long as it can get. Good, now circle your arms up to the ceiling. Imagine you could reach your arms out of the sides of the body, catch a hold of your left wrist, big inhale, and as you exhale, side bend towards the right. So we're gonna get into our side body a little bit today. Notice your breath. Good, take it back up to the top, release your wrist, and then bring your hands down, maybe blocks on either side of your right foot, slide your left knee backwards a little bit, and then straighten your right leg for a hamstring stretch. Keep trying to reach your heart beyond your big toe. That's it, good Sharon, beautiful Dory. Don't forget about your right foot, it's active. I see some sleepy right feet. Come on, right feet, wake up. There we go. Flow a little bit, bend your right knee, take your arms up to the sky, maybe join the palms. Exhale, straighten your right leg, find your flow, back down to blocks or the floor. Follow your breath, inhale, find your way to Anjaneyasana. Exhale, find your way to half Hamananasana. We're active through every single cell and molecule of our body. One more time, inhale, flow with your breath. Gorgeous. Exhale, find your hamstring stretch. Good, and then bend your right knee one more time. Place your hands on either side. Pop your back knee up off of the mat and step back into a plank pose. So as you come into that plank pose, lift up through the sides of the body. Push the inner part of your palms down to elongate the inseams of your arms. And knit your rib cage together. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, Slowly lower your belly all the way down to the mat. Take your hands wider than your yoga mat, so onto the floor on either side of your mat, and in line with your shoulders. And then imagine you could pull your chest forward and lift up for that baby cobra. Energize your legs. So the legs are like a mermaid tail reaching back behind you. Notice if there's tension in your face. Take one more inhale, press your shoulder blades to the front of your body. Exhale, release. 3 times, rolling cobra. Inhale, lift up, use your fingertips. Exhale, roll down. Again, inhale, go forward, then up. So your upper spine is coiling, reach back your mermaid tail. Exhale, release it down. One more time, you're trying to get more strength in your upper back. Draw the lowest part of your belly in, so you're stabilizing your low back. Good. And as you exhale, release it down. Place your hands directly under your elbows. Press your hips back into a child's pose. And then shift forward again, so you're on hands and knees. Hands slightly forward. Tuck the toes, hover the kneecaps. And one more time, enter downward facing dog and just see, how does it go? Keep those knees really bent as you press your chest back towards your thighs. Then see if you can lift your pelvis up taller. At the same time you're lifting your pelvis, your heels are magnetizing down, so you're feeling that stretch in the hamstrings from both ends of the body. Good, now walk your feet so that they are side by side to one another. Float your left leg up behind you. And go ahead and turn your left toes open, let your hip drape open. Notice if your right toes want to swivel to the left when you do that, try to keep them straight. Notice if you're collapsing into your outer right hip, firm your right hip in. Nice, Sharon. And then extend your legs straight back behind you, find neutral. We're gonna step the left foot to the outside of the left hand, so step it all the way forward, drop the back knee down. Turn your toes out 45 degrees. And walk your hands towards the right front corner of your yoga mat. If you want to take it to your forearms, you can. Smooth breath. Where is your mind? Are you here right now? Good, so we're going to start to walk the hands back towards the center, heel toe the left foot over towards the center of the mat. Revolve your right foot towards the long edge of your mat behind you and cartwheel your arms open for like a warrior 2 situation, right? Firm up your triceps. You're trying to externally rotate, so you're trying to track your knee over the center of your foot. A lot of times it likes to cave in. So really strong and active here. Good, now you're gonna place your hand, either your elbow on your thigh or your hand down, top arm up to the sky. Use your elbow to brace against your knee so that you can open through your spine, and then take your top arm over and reach. Imagine you are opening up all this real estate into your right lung. That's it, beautiful. Keep opening your chest. Strive to be open-hearted. And then come back into the warrior 2 shape. Straighten your front leg, slide your heel a little further forward, arms to the sky. Gate pose, left hand to the left leg and side bend it over. The toes are active, they're pointing straight up to the ceiling. Wake up, toes, there we go. There you go, Sally, toes up. Yeah, there we go. Good. Inhale back up to the top, reach your arms up, and we're gonna squat. So as you exhale, sit down your right sitting bone to your right heel or towards it. Ooh, big stretch. Inhale, rise back up again. Good. Exhale, sit it down, bring your hands down the middle. Inhale, take it up. Gorgeous, one more time. Sink it down. Moving consciously. Inhale, all the way up. Good. Now put your hands down, walk your hands around so that you're square to the front edge of your mat. Draw the left heel back, right knee forward, and then walk your hands up on top of your left thigh and press your arms to straight. Get more length in your spine than you had last time. Circle the arms up to the sky. Catch a hold of your right wrist on an inhale. And as you exhale, side bend towards the left. Notice your foundation. Foundation is strong so that you could lift and lengthen out of that foundation. Good. Inhale, back up to the sky. And as you exhale, sink your hips back, slide your right knee back a little bit, come into that hamstring stretch. Try to stretch the top of your sternum beyond your big toes. Just pause here for a moment. Sometimes this side's a little different than the other side. Wake up your foot. Left foot is active. Toes are spreading. Good. And then start to flow. Bend your knee. Inhale, Anjaneyasana. Exhale, half Hamananasana. A lot of times gravity catches us at a certain point and we're kind of flopping and falling. So see if you can use your breath to elicit that control and that flow. Good, and then rebend your left knee. Place your hands on either side. Pop your back knee up off of the mat. And step your left foot back to meet your right. Plank pose, nice and strong. Rooting down through the inner part of your palm. Imagine the sides of your waist could get taller as your tailbone shoots back towards your heels. Pitch forward onto your tippy toes. And lower yourself down in slow motion. Check and make sure your hands are directly under your elbows. Try to pull your yoga mat backwards as you create your mermaid tail. And as you pull the yoga mat backwards, reach your chest forward, 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 and then coil your upper spine up. Exhale, release. Again, inhale, lift. Reach back through your toes, exhale, release. One more time, if you want an upward facing dog, if you're ready, go ahead, coil your spine up and then lift everything up off of the floor. And as your arms are vertical like pillars, try to extend the middle of your sternum towards the front of the room. Draw the lowest part of your belly up, keep the tailbone long. One more inhale, exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Good. Separate your feet as wide as your yoga mat. Slowly walk your hands back towards your feet. And when you get there, turn your toes out 45 degrees, bend your knees and come down into Malasana. You can bring your hands together in front of your heart. Always feels different. Just evaluate how you feel today. Good. Put your hands on the floor as you inhale. Lift the sides of your hips up tall. You can always put blocks under your hands. As you exhale, re-bend your knees. Bring your hands to your heart. Place your hands on the floor. Inhale, lift the sides of the hips up tall. As you exhale, slowly flow your way back into Malasana. One more time, hands on the floor. Lift the sides of the hips up. And then just straighten your feet. You can keep your feet fairly wide. Catch a hold of your opposite forearms, soften the knees, and allow the top of your skull to magnetize down towards the floor. As you rock your weight forward towards the balls of your feet, let your elbows be heavy. Let the heaviness of your elbows elongate your spine. Good, fingertips to the floor. Inhale, draw your belly and reach your chest forward. Perfect, exhale. Roll it down. Catch your opposite forearm on top this time. Let those elbows get heavy. And this time, don't worry about straightening the legs necessarily, but start to engage your quadricep muscles so that your kneecaps lift up. As your kneecaps lift up, your elbows weight down. Good. Release your fingertips to the floor as you inhale, stretch your chest forward. And as you exhale, fold it in. Bring your hands to your hips. And as you inhale, stand all the way up. Great. So let's take our strap. And we're gonna hold our strap fairly wide, yeah? So I want you guys to look at my ribs, right? So this is what I don't want. See how my ribs are sticking way out? This is called puffing our rib cage. So we don't want to have a puffy rib cage. Whenever we take our arms overhead, it's tempting to get that range of motion by puffing the rib cage. So I want you guys to set your width so that you can get your hands over your head and behind your back while you maintain that neutral spine. So we're getting shoulder opening without compensating. If your elbows are bending a lot, take your hands a little wider. Try to keep your arms straight. So inhale to the top. Exhale to come down, whether you're front or back. Inhale back to the top. And exhale to come down. And just notice you might bring your hands a little closer together to challenge yourself a little bit more. Let's do 3 more. You're really thinking about those muscles we were engaging when we were in that beast pose, tapping our back thigh. Good, one more time, synchronizing your breath with your movement. Good, I see some people's shoulders got more open from the beginning to now. So land back in the front, place your strap aside and step to the front of your yoga mat. And just take a moment to stand in Samastiti, which means balanced, harmonious posture, so you find your own personal center. Bring your hands to your heart, close your eyes for a moment, and set any intention that makes sense for this practice today. And then release your fingertips down. Let's warm the body with sun salutations. Inhale, as you lift the arms, draw those front ribs in so they're not puffing. Nice, and as you exhale, you hinge from your hips, long spine to fold forward, maybe blocks, hands to the floor, blocks. Inhale, lowest part of your belly draws in as you reach your chest forward. As you exhale, you step your feet back, pause in your plank pose. Take an inhale to lengthen the tailbone and the sternum away from one another. As you exhale, knees to the floor or not, lower halfway down, chaturanga. Inhale, baby cobra or upward facing dog. As you exhale, lift the hips up and back and imagine you could stretch your yoga mat into the front of the room as your pubic bone reaches back away from that line of energy. Relax your head so that your ears are in line with your biceps and spin your biceps up towards the ceiling. Breathe deeply and smoothly. Remembering that your nervous system is really paying attention to how you're breathing, and how you breathe affects your nervous system. Good. Step your right foot to the front, pause. Step your left foot to the front. Feet are inner hips distance apart as you inhale, lift the chest. As you exhale, fold in. And as you inhale, circle the arms, reach all the way up. Ribs are in. As you exhale, hands to your heart, tailbone nice and long. Let's do 2 more rounds. Inhale, circle, reach, lengthen through the sides of the body. Exhale, hinge and fold, long spine. Draw the lowest part of your belly in as you arch in your upper back, not your lower back. And as you exhale, step it back to a plank pose. Pause here. On your inhale, lengthen the tailbone and the sternum away from one another. As you exhale, chaturanga. As you inhale, baby cobra or upward facing dog. Remember to keep the tailbone reaching towards the heels. And as you exhale, hips up and back to downward facing dog. Allow your nervous system to experience calm, presence, being grounded in this moment. Notice when your breath gets shallow, we're keeping that single pointed focus on our breath. Step your left foot forward, pause. Step your right foot forward, place the feet inner hips distance apart. Inhale to lift your chest, and exhale to fold it forward. Inhale to circle, rise, and gather all of the energy you need. And as you exhale, bring your hands together in front of your heart. Last round, inhale, circle the arms. This time you can really create that flow. No pauses if you don't need them. Exhale to fold. Lowest part of your belly draws, and as you find the movement in your upper spine, exhaling straight into Chaturanga. You can always skip it. These are always optional. We do them so that we have this ritual. Coming back up into a downward facing dog. Take a few breaths. Good. And then you're going to step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. You're back in Malasana. Yeah? So you can stay here and just have a peaceful moment in Malasana. Or if you want to take crow pose, place your hands down, lift the sides of your hips up, squeeze your knees into your upper arms and start to shift forward. Maybe you just practice being on your hands and like what that balance might be. Maybe you just stay in Malasana, maybe you actually take crow pose. Whatever you're doing, you're breathing. Good, and then if you were in crow, bring it back to Malasana. Hands to your heart. Good. Place your hands back down on the floor. Step it back to downward facing dog, right foot then left foot. Press into the inner part of your palms and imagine someone was lifting the sides of your hips up and back. Good. Step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Same options. Malasana, stay here. Remember, you can always roll up your mat and stick it under your heels if your heels are lifting. Or you can take crow. You can place your hands down and practice that arm balance. A lot of times when we lift up into that arm balance, we start contracting, holding our breath. So I don't want you guys to do that. Whatever you're doing it because you can keep that single pointed focus on your breath. If you took crow pose, bring it back down. Place your hands down on the floor. Step back to downward facing dog, left foot, and then right foot. Separate your feet so they're a little bit wider than hip distance apart. And press into the inner part of your palms. Good. Now from this downward facing dog, remember that beast pose we did? You're going to shift back into beast. So shift your shoulders forward and bend your knees so they're hovering half an inch from the mat. And as you exhale, return to downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward, bend your knees, engage your belly muscles. Exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. One more time, bend your knees so they're hovering just half an inch from your mat. Think of squeezing your yoga mat backwards with your palms, forward with your toes. And as you exhale, use the energy in your belly muscles to lift those hips up and back into downward facing dog. Good. So you can step, you can walk, or you can jump to the top of your mat. As you inhale, lift the chest. And as you exhale, fold it in. So let's go hip distance. So you can place your two fists between the highest part of your arches so you know you're there. Look at your second toes, they're in line with the long edges of your mat. Bend your knees here, circle your arms, Utkatasana chair pose. Good, now we're gonna take the arms forward. You're gonna take your arms forward and reach your arms and your hips away from one another. Yeah, your weight is in your heels, so you can wiggle your toes a little bit here. Good, now stretch your arms back behind you. Lift up through your lowest part of your belly. And then stretch your arms forward again. And then start to lift, float the arms up, and as you do, lift the pubic bone in towards the belly. Hold it. And as you inhale, stand all the way up, let your palms join. As you exhale, bring your hands together in front of your heart. Good, take your two blocks You're gonna set them up on the long edges of your yoga mat, and you'll face the opposite direction. You guys can't see me that well, huh? Let's fix that a little bit. Okay, so take your arms out wide, look at your wrists, and set your feet up so that your feet land directly underneath your wrists, yeah? Okay, so this is my left foot, but I'm gonna call it my right foot. You're gonna turn your right toes forward, turn your left toes slightly in, and then track that right knee right over the second and third toe as you come into warrior two. I want you to lift the front of the pelvis off of your right thigh so that you develop that midline, that strength from the pelvis feeding up to the rib cage. Firm your triceps. And notice the tendency to not want to be present. Carlton, press more into the outer edge of your back foot. You're going the other way, okay, that's fine. See if you can lift up through the pelvis even more and find your shoulder blades, press them into the front of your body. Yeah, let's take 3 more deep, steady breaths, connecting to the part of us that is a warrior inside. Good, and then flip your right palm over as you inhale, reverse that warrior. And as you exhale, forearm comes to the thigh. Top arm stretches over your ear. Release your right shoulder away from your ear. Spin your right lung down towards the floor as your left lung spins up towards the ceiling. And now flow. Inhale, reverse that warrior. The pelvis is stable so that the torso is like that beautiful branches blowing in the wind. The wind is your breath. Exhale. Find your way to Parsvakonasana on your thigh. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, forearm to the thigh. Top arm over. Last time, inhale, reverse. And exhale, forearm to thigh. Top arm stretches over, and pause here. See if you can elongate through the entire left side of your body. You're striving and stretching and reaching and growing and expanding. Good. Welcome, David. Inhale back to warrior two and straighten your front leg. Now notice where your pelvis is, right? So we do want to let the pelvis shift. You want to draw that outer right hip crease back. Reach your arm way out over your right side and then place your hand on the block behind your ankle. Top arm to the sky. You're going to press your pelvis forward towards the long edge of your mat. You're going to lean your upper body backwards towards the other long edge of your mat. And then take that top arm and reach it over your ear. So yeah, lots of side body today. Some of you guys are going to want to reach that right arm as well. Like you're holding a big beach ball. Good. And then from here we're going to transition to Ardha Chandrasana. So bend your right knee a little bit, look forward, take your block with you. Scoot your back foot in a little bit if you need to, and then press down into your right heel to float your left leg up. Draw the outer right hip crease back. And make your left leg super, super, super firm. So everything is expanding in opposite directions. Good, slowly start to bend that right knee. Reach the left leg way back behind you. And find your way back into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Stay and breathe. You're angling your right sitting bone towards the arch of your left foot. Good, and then rise all the way up and turn your toes so that they are parallel. Bring your hands to your hips. Inhale, lift your chest. And as you exhale, fold it forward. Feel your pelvis revolve over your thighs. And then place your hands down on the floor, and you can walk your hands back behind your legs, or you can take a headstand here if you can do that safely.
Remember, if you're taking a headstand, your arms are like chaturanga arms. And as you take this forward fold, lift the sides of the hips taller. And imagine all of the muscles surrounding the vertebrae of your spine are softening. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, release the spine down, hands to your hips. And as you inhale, stand all the way back up to the top. Great. So you're going to turn my right, but you're going to turn your left foot forward. Turn your right toes in, extend the arms, and make your way into your warrior. So this is your journey. This is your body. Think about, where is your pelvis? Can you lift the front of your pelvis up off of your left thigh? And oh my God, that left knee really likes to fold in, so make sure it's tracking right over the center of your foot. Your pelvis is on an angle, so a lot of teachers teach to square the pelvis. It can create some compression in the lower back, so make sure your hips are facing the diagonal corner of your mat. Can you practice stillness? Can you practice inner silence? Can you keep that single pointed focus on the drawing in of breath and the release of breath? Take 3 more really steady ones. Steady your gaze, your drishti. And then flip your left palm over. As you inhale, stay low in your legs, reverse your warrior, big stretch into your side body, good. As you exhale, forearm to the thigh. Top arm takes a long journey over your ear. Release your left shoulder away from your ear. Good, flow. Inhale, reverse that warrior. Slower's harder, you guys. Longer breaths are gonna calm your nervous system, and slower movements, keep going, are going to engage more of your muscle fibers. There's more consciousness, there's more awareness. So you listen to the sound of your own breath. Good, and then bring it back to warrior 2 and straighten your front leg. Press into the ball mound of your left foot. Allow your pelvis to shift, right? As you deepen the crease of that left hip, hand to the block, top arm up to the sky. So I want you guys to try to get the left side of your waist, the bottom side, to reach out of your pelvis more. So put your hand on your bottom ribs and stretch your rib cage towards the short edge of your yoga mat. That's it. Engage more through your right leg, so press the outer edge of that right foot down, and engage your right inner thigh more, Carlton. So that leg is really, really, really pushing your yoga mat backwards. Take your top arm over your ear. Some of you guys take the bottom arm and reach it forward as well. We can continually work on elongating that left side waist out of the pelvis. That's something we can keep working on. Breathe. Good, and then look down, bend your left knee, scoot your back foot in a little bit, place the block about 8 inches forward, and float it up to Ardha Chandrasana. Drawing that outer left hip crease in, and as you expand your body in opposite directions, you should know very clearly where is the center. It's like your belly button. Everything is emanating out from that center line. Elongate your torso away from your back right heel. Good, and then slowly start to bend that left knee. Reach the right leg way back behind you. Find your way back to Trikonasana. Slide your block back in. Elongate through the left side waist. Good, and then as you inhale, rise all the way up. Turn your feet so they're parallel. Second toes line up to the short edges of your yoga mat. Okay, this time we're gonna have lots of choices. So hands to your hips, inhale, lift the chest. And as you exhale, fold forward. And if you want to hook your big toes with your peace fingers, that's fine. If you want to place your hands, come back into headstand, that's fine. If you want to get your strap or interlace your hands behind your back, that's also an option. If you have your hands behind your back, suction your shoulder heads away from the floor by squeezing your shoulder blades together. And breathe. You have so many choices, so you go where you feel good. place your hands down in front of you as you inhale, look forward. As you exhale, fold in, bring your hands to your hips. And as you inhale, rise all the way up. Great. So we're going to turn our toes out 45 degrees. As you bend your knees, the front and the back of the pelvis are going to take an even journey down, right? And turn my body side. So we're not doing this. We're not sticking the booty out. We're taking an even journey down so that you're in horse pose, nice and strong through your legs. That's it. Lift through the front of your body. That's awesome, you guys. Great. Take your arms straight up to the sky. Feel the sides of your body get long. Press your knees apart from one another. Take an inhale. Keep this strength in your legs. As you exhale, side bend left. Inhale, back to the top. Exhale, side bend right. Feel your obliques. Inhale, back to the top. Exhale, side bend first side. It's the left. Inhale, back to the top. Side bend right. So the whole body, the waist is reaching. One more time, inhale to the top. Exhale, side bend, side reach. Inhale to the top. Exhale, side reach. Back up to the top, inhale. Straighten your legs, bring your hands to your heart. Good. Now shift the weight over to your left side, coming into Skandasana. If you want to take that block behind you and put your butt cheek down on the block, it's right there. It's ready for you. If you don't want to do that, if you lift up onto the ball of your foot, let's call that not a big deal today. Let's say, you know what? We're getting that nice inner thigh stretch. So you could put fingertips on the floor if you want. You know what? Assess your body. Good, and then walk your hands over to the other side and find Skandasana. Maybe that block is available for you. So samskara is a word in Sanskrit that means our unconscious patterns and habits. We want to become aware of what those habits and unconscious patterns are so that we can be mindful and choiceful in every moment. It's a practice. Good, so hands to the floor. Walk it back to the center. Check and make sure that you're setting your feet up so that your second toes are now straight, aligned to the short edges of your mat. Again, inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, fold it in, hands to your hips. And as you inhale, rise all the way up and either step or jump your feet together. Come to the top of your mat. Okay? Blocks, you can bring them back as well. And so big toes touching, heels slightly apart. Bend the knees, circle the arms, Utkatasana chair pose. Good, and as you exhale, fold forward and straighten the legs. Inhale to lift the chest. And as you exhale, take it back to downward facing dog, however you'd like to get there, perhaps through a vinyasa. Good. Inhale your right leg straight back behind you. As you exhale, right knee, right tricep. Maybe you go for that arm balance. Some of you guys like the arm balance. Inhale, send your leg up and back, three-legged dog. Listen carefully. Exhale, right knee, right tricep. Inhale, right knee, left tricep. Exhale, right knee, right tricep. Inhale, leg up and back, three-legged dog. Good. Exhale, knee straight down the middle. Shift forward. Step your foot between your hands. Grab your blocks, pull your blocks underneath your palms. And imagine squeezing your right heel back as your left toes try to move forward. Pull backwards on the blocks to elongate your spine. Think of lifting the front of your pelvis up. Put a generous bend in your back knee and circle your arms to crescent pose. Good. Interlace your hands behind your back. Right thumb on top of the left. As you inhale, send your chest up to the sky. And as you exhale, fold forward. It's a variation on Humble Warrior. The back heel is lifted. pull your shoulder heads away from the floor. Lift the knuckles a little bit higher. Good. Inhale, circle the arms back up to the sky. Some of you guys drop your back knee down to the floor. We're gonna take that twist. Left elbow comes across. It's optional to put the back knee down, completely up to you. Any stage with your arms is fine. Think of what you're wringing out from this last week that you don't want to bring forward into the weekend. Anxiety, fear, pessimistic thoughts about what might happen. Release all of that. Good, so we have a second side. Place the hands down, step back to downward facing dog or take it through a vinyasa. Good. Inhale your left leg straight back behind you. As you exhale, left knee, left tricep, perhaps an arm balance, which means you kind of keep your, like the chaturanga arm. Inhale your left leg up and back, three-legged dog. Listen carefully. Exhale, left knee, left tricep. On your exhale, on your inhale, right tricep. On your exhale, left tricep. On your inhale, up and back, three-legged dog. So I'm doing all of that so you feel your abdominals before we twist. As you exhale, step your foot between your hands. Pause, grab your blocks again. So your blocks are going to give you the ability to lift the front of your pelvis, right? When we first get here, a lot of times our booty is sticking out. So we're going to lift the front of the pelvis up. Find that engagement. Soften your back knee a little bit. As you circle your arms, lift the rib cage up on top of the pelvis. Crescent pose. So you see the pelvis is nice and level. It's not tilted. We're not puffing out those ribs. It's all drawn in, nice and strong. Reach your arms around behind your back. Interlace left thumb on top of the right. Inhale, stretch your shoulder blades up to the apex of your chest. And as you exhale, fold it forward, humble warrior. You have a strap if you need it for this. Suction those shoulder blades away from the floor. Good, and then release the interlace. Arms to the sky. Perhaps you drop your back knee down and take your twist. Are you still here? Are you still present? You there with that single pointed focus on your breath? Any stage with your arms. Be here for just a couple more. Good, and then slowly unravel your twist and find your way back to downward facing dog. Good, so from that downward facing dog, step your feet out wide. Bring your hands a little bit more narrow. Bend your knees so they're hovering half an inch from the floor. Draw the belly muscles in, extend the top of the sternum forward. With your left arm, reach back and touch your left thigh. Place it back down. 3 times, okay? Notice your knees, they're not moving around. If this is too difficult, put your knees on the floor and do quadruped instead, or bird dog. That's it. You guys look great. One more time. And find your way to child's pose. Whew. Surrender your forehead to the floor. Imagine the entire surface area of your lungs, especially the back half of your lungs, filling with breath, opening up, receiving that breath. Good, and then come back up into downward facing dog. If single pigeon is not your thing, you're going to take it to your back instead and do thread the needle again. If not, come back to downward facing dog, right leg lifts. As you exhale, shin pulls across towards the front edge of your mat. and you have a block. So if you need it, stick it underneath your right hip. Take a moment to sit up tall. Lift the front of the pelvis up. It doesn't count if you're like all dumping forward, right? Lift. Yeah, good. And then you can slowly find your way where you're going into single pigeon. Is your breath rhythmic? And start to unravel, start to unwind, unraveling those tension patterns that we just keep putting those patterns back on, right? We want to become observant of those samskaras so that we can choose if we want them, if we can choose if we want to keep holding tension in those same areas. Good. When you're ready, you'll transition to your other side. Some of you guys like to take wild thing. If that's you, great. If that's not you today, that's fine. We always can be different. The moment is always changing, and we learn to be responsive. And so make sure when you take your single pigeon, if you're taking single pigeon, you lift the front of the pelvis first. She's got her block, she's happy. Did you go to sleep? Did you lose your focus? Stay with the single pointed focus on your inhale and your exhale breath. Great, so as you're ready, transition out however you want to get back to downward facing dog, or if you're on your back already, that's great, stay there. And then if you're in downward facing dog, lower your knees, and we'll all meet on our backs. Have a block handy. Okay. Feet are going to be in line with your sitting bones, palms down on the floor. Block is handy, yeah? You have that block ready to go. Lift your hips up. And as you lift your hips, imagine you could slide your tailbone forward and your knees forward. So you're creating all of that forward pull to lengthen your spine. Then take your block and slide it underneath your back. I would suggest the medium setting. Some of you guys like the high setting. Some of you like the low setting. Try the medium setting, see how that feels. Make sure your sacrum is being supported. And as your sacrum is supported, just imagine your lower back is widening out. Taking up more space. Actually lift your hips a tiny, tiny bit off of the block, holding the sides of your hips and spread, like you could pull your lower back wider. So you're pulling your hips out to the side and then put your back down on the block and notice what feels a little bit different. Arms by your sides. Curl one knee in and then the other. Send the legs up to the sky. If it's not comfortable for some reason, go back to supported bridge. Look at your feet. The feet are awake. They're alive. You're spreading through your toes. You're making sure that your lower back is not sagging down towards the floor. So there's energy even here in the, as you energize your toes, you energize all of that action so that nothing is saggy or asleep. Good, and then you can bend your knees and lower your feet down to the mat, one and then the other. And as you're ready, slide the block onto whatever the next lowest setting is. Take a moment, recalibrate, let your back spread out. Take it down to the next setting, wherever that is. And if you have one more setting to go, you'll go there on your own time. Good. Now reach your hands out to the side. This time palms are facing up. So the biceps are up towards the ceiling. Cross your right thigh bone over your left thigh bone. I want you to think expanding the chest as you let your knees magnetize down towards the left. See if you can reach through your right fingertips a little bit more and gaze towards the right. Now, I have a yoga teacher who always talks about the tendency to become dull. Nobody wants to become dull, right? But we do become dull if we are always in our samskaras, if we're always in our unconscious patterns. It means we're always doing the same thing and having the same reactions. So bring your knees back to the center. Cross your opposite thigh, left thigh on top of the right. And let the knees magnetize down towards the right as you try to reach your fingertips further apart from one another. Make your way back to the center. And if you need one more thing, maybe a happy baby, maybe nothing at all, find your way either to Shavasana or seated meditation. And you get to choose which one you want. This is an opportunity for you to practice being still. And for many of us, this is the hardest posture that we practice. So, whether you're in Shavasana or whether you're coming into seated meditation, I want you guys to slow down the movement and find the stillness. And in the stillness, we can find that single pointed awareness just for a few rounds of breath. So just track your breath. And the next breath you take in, fill your lungs completely. Hold your breath for a moment at the top. And then big release as you sigh that breath out. If you're in Shavasana, place one hand on your heart, place one hand on your belly, breathe into both of your hands. Feel the connection to your heart and feel the connection to your gut, your instinct. When you're ready, find your way to a seated posture if you didn't start in a seated posture. So if you're coming from Shavasana, find your way to seated, allow your eyes to remain closed. Another moment of stillness. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Let your thumbs rest gently on your heart center. And imagine you could lift your heart up into your thumbs so your heart is expanding. And then bow your mind to the wisdom of your heart. Think of your throat right in between your head and your heart, and that is your vehicle, that is your instrument. And hopefully everything that you bring forth is both from your heart as well as the wisdom and the intuition of your third eye. Closing your practice with gratitude. It might be a nice moment to identify why you do this practice. How does it make you feel? How is that different than how you felt in the beginning? And slowly allow your eyes to open. Namaste.
Go slow, you guys. Take care of your nervous system. Take care of yourself.